All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited for today and to introduce you guys to my awesome guest who is currently in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and traveling the world. She was just sharing with me, she's been living on the go, her and her partner, for the last 4 years, which is awesome. And just deciding to let inspiration take them wherever they want to go next, it sounds like. And really excited to chat with her today. We have Sarinia, I think I messed up her name again because it's in my head, Bryant, which is a beautiful name and she'll say it better than I. And she is a love and relationships coach, and I came across her Instagram page not too long ago and just saw the love and light she was sharing with her audience and wanted to have an awesome conversation with her, and that's what we're going to do today. So without further ado for me, I want to introduce you guys to Sarinia. Why can't I say your name properly now?
Sarinia, you said it perfect the first time.
Okay, I got it forever now. Sarinia, if you could share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, who you are, what you do, why you do it, all that good stuff.
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited as well. Sarinia Bryant. I am a love and relationship coach. As you mentioned, I'm the creator of Real Love, which is a 5-step program I bring women through to take them from a very unconscious romantic view of love and relationships to a conscious, expansive, real love, that's what I call it, state. So why I do that, of course, I think why any of us do what we do in terms of teaching or coaching is because we've been there, right? Like at the first end of the spectrum. So I had a lot of very unhealthy, toxic, codependent, you name it, relationships growing up, even bringing all of that into the relationship I'm in now, to the point where we had a breakdown, which turned into a breakthrough for me, where, we were just going to break up, and I just had like this epiphany where I was like, okay, wait a second. Like the common denominator is me, right? And all these relationships where I'm always saying like, oh, men, it's always men. It's so unfair. They're all the same, all the things that women usually blame men for breaking our hearts, right? I realized that only I can do that. Only I can create all the feelings that I was feeling. And so it just took me into this whole self-development world where I was like, wow, just like the awareness started opening, right, and blossoming. And I've been on this journey, just as I said, for the past few years with this person. And the reason why I like to coach in this field of love and relationships is because it really is all about self and self-love. But I feel like relationships are just the perfect mirror to show you what you need to see. And so, yeah, that's the gist of it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love where you started off. You said so many profound things just right there in that opening, where if you spaced and you're like doing other things, listen to the podcast right now, start it over and listen to Sarinia's part, because she just said several things. First of which, just showing her how her life experience is allowing herself to evolve, and her being able to coach through her journey, because the example that she's setting as far as not being codependent, being able to fully be in tune with who she really is allowing her to create the relationship in every area of life that she wants. And it's so important what she described as far as basically taking all of her power back versus blaming, like we like to do, and we've all been there, where it's someone else's fault that this is going on, whether it be in a relationship or a career or whatever else it may be. It's very disempowering for any of us if we're like pointing to something external as far as why things are going the way they are. And when we can really realize that, and I love how you said this, that the common denominator in every relationship and everything that we experience in life is you were there, out there, you were a co-creator in it. So it definitely takes two when it comes to relationship. And I love everything that you just described right there. And had you like to kind of start having this light bulb come on for you? Because I'm always curious, like when it comes to our journeys as human beings. It sounds like you probably started having a spiritual or personal growth journey prior to that, and then you just kind of were able to take that awareness and point it towards relationships. How did that happen for you, kind of in life?
Yeah, so actually, I was always really, really interested in what a healthy relationship should look like, because I didn't have the best example. Like most of us don't, right? Like our parents, it's very rare if you find someone who says, oh, my parents were the prime example. So I was always reading books. Like the first book I read on it was called Being in Love by Osho. And I still really recommend that book. It's an amazing book on conscious love. And I read that book when I was like 18 or 19, um, in a toxic relationship where I was putting all the blame on him. Like, look, I'm really trying to do this work, but you have this ego problem. And I was like learning and then like applying it to someone else, right? Instead of to myself. So I was just like kind of like secretly um, learning these things, but not applying it, not integrating it to myself. And so, yeah, it was like that moment where everything just kind of hit me, where, like you said, I already had the knowledge, just not the wisdom integrated. Um, so yeah, so I did have, I was already interested in like being a better person. I think we all have that, right? Like we all want to be a good person, but there's so many blockages and so much wounding that we don't really know where to start, and we don't know why it's not coming so easily. So it's like, how come when I read the book, it just doesn't work? Like I'm getting it intellectually, but it's not coming in. And so from that point, I really had to start doing a lot of self-healing and like looking back. And that's what I do with my clients in the first. So like I said, it's a 5-step program. The first step is awareness. So it's like, where are we right now and what got us here? So we have to go back a little bit and really see like where all that conditioning started happening, because as we know it right now, we just think there's right and wrong, good and bad. This is the way it is. This is the truth. But the universal truth is just love. So if anything doesn't feel good, it can't be the truth. So we have to go back and figure out like, where did that come from? And that's my technique. I found that that's helpful just to see like where, but for some people, it's not always necessary for us to like find all the parts in our lives where that conditioning happened. But I found that really helpful in my journey. So the biggest thing for me was that my father passed away when I was 13, and I had a lot of suppressed trauma. So I was bringing that into relationships, like constantly needing a man to love me because the man that loved me is gone. So you need to be the man, right? And so this was just like replaying in every relationship. Like I need to be I was my father's only daughter. So I was like, I need to be the only girl because my dad made me so important. That's what I need you to do, right? So, and oftentimes in relationships, we see this, like it's so common that, and it might not even be a girl with her father, but even with your mother or, your primary caregiver, whoever that was, is that we didn't get the love that we needed at the time in the way that we needed it. And so we're constantly looking for someone else to give it to us. And then learning that I could give that to myself was like mind blowing, because no one teaches you how to do that, like how to love yourself, right? Like we hear it and it's kind of nauseating at this point, like self-love, just love yourself on the internet. And everybody's talking about it. But it's not like really clear on how to do that. So that's what my program is really designed around, is like, okay, but how? And then from there, the relationships flourish and your business flourishes and your health, and like everything is just kind of connected to your self-love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing, because without the first step, the awareness step, and it's the only reason I do anything that I do, because without awareness, none of us have a choice to evolve, to do anything about it. Like life is kind of just living us instead of us living, this life.
Yeah.
And so I love that right off the bat. And then anytime we start, because you're right, there's a lot of talk about self-love and things right now. The like ground zero is like being it, like being love, like how are we being in the moment, like our present moment right now state of being. And if we're connected in the moment, with whatever you want to call it out there, God, universe, love, all that is, source, spirit, the force, infinite intelligence, so many words that we could describe in the moment, because that's all it could ever be. Like none of us are like permanently like blissed out or permanently depressed. So anytime we try to label ourselves as one way or the other, it's always sometimes. But if we could be aware of it, now we can actually choose to do something about it. And that's what it sounds like, and I know is what your program is helping people do, is to have their power back, and then showing them how they could go along and live. What's second step? What's after awareness?
Yeah. So the second step is acceptance.
Awesome.
So this is really huge because we constantly think that we have to be that higher self, right? Like the all loving, all peace, all namaste person. And so we really beat ourselves up whenever we're not that. Like something's wrong with me. And we're constantly searching for something to fix us. So acceptance is like, it's not just, I mean, with all of these, it's not like a step, but it's like bringing it in to like everyday practice is just accepting everything as it is. Like it's all perfect. It's all here for a reason. It's all supposed to be this way. It shouldn't, I hate the word should, right? Shouldn't.
Me
It
too.
shouldn't be something else because it's not. So the truth is always reality. It's always what is here. It has to be true because it's here right now. So whenever we're in resistance to that, we're going to be struggling because we're thinking that it should be some way else, or we should be a different way, or our partner should be different. That's huge. So once we really learn how to accept ourselves, and we do what you've probably heard of shadow work. So that's where you really go through all of these traits or feelings that you think are bad and not acceptable, and cultivating acceptance for them. Like everything is good. And for example, a lot of women come to me who are on the awareness track, and they're like, okay, so I have jealousy, or I have insecurity. This is what I need to get rid of to be aware and like a conscious person. And I'm like, no, you just need to be aware of it. But jealousy, it's all good. It's how you respond. So when you accept your jealousy, you're able to just communicate that very level-headed, like, hey babe, I'm feeling jealous right now, like I just, not that you did anything wrong, but that's just how I feel. And like, I would just like a hug or little words of affirmation, whatever it is. Right. And it's like totally fine. And your partner never minds it. In my experience. And what I see with my clients is like, jealousy can be really attractive, or it can be endearing. Like, oh, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're jealous that I was over there. Like, no worries, I'm here. But when we don't accept ourselves, it's like when we hate the jealousy, we can't stand it, then I project it on you and I say, you have a fucking problem. Sorry, should I not cuss on this?
You can say anything that you want, and I just have to
Okay.
tell iTunes whether it's a clean
Okay.
episode or not, but say
You
whatever. You just keep
um,
going now, because if we drop an F-bomb or two, then we'll just call
yeah.
it a non clean. I
Okay.
have plenty of both. Don't worry.
Okay. um, yeah, but you know what I mean? It's like, that's when I start blaming you for making me feel this way. So you shouldn't be talking to her. You shouldn't be doing this. You're a bad person. Da 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 da. That comes from not accepting your own emotions. And then, of course, not accepting other people. So whenever you don't accept something within yourself, you don't accept it in your partner or anybody around you. You think like, they need to change that, because if I can't accept it for myself, you shouldn't accept it either in yourself, right? So yeah, acceptance is huge. It's like, if I meet someone and I tell them I'm a relationship coach and they said like, give me one tip, I'm like, acceptance. Accept your partner for how he is exactly right now. If you can start practicing that, you're already on your way, because
For sure.
we're always trying to change each other.
I love it. I love what you just highlighted, and it just what you said when it comes, like the example you use when it comes to jealousy. It just shows that there's levels to all of this, levels to our energy, as far as like, you could be aware that you're jealous and express that, like in your beginning example, where it's just like a
Mm-hmm.
healthy conversation, or you could
Mm-hmm.
let it fester and pick up momentum and then like explode on your partner because it's all built up. And
Yeah.
how you're expressing it now is like from a place of like jealousy and rage, or jealousy and anger,
Yeah.
which is not going to be received well by any human. So that's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's definitely like the awareness piece leading into the acceptance, because I mean, at the end of the day, none of us are going to change anyone. All that we can do is be very clear on what's important to us and be able to express that. And again, how we express it is much more important than, what we're expressing, because what's important
Yeah.
to us is what's important to us. And the reason why we know it's important to us is because of all of those that we're talking about, relationships, all of those relationships that we've had up until now, showing us parts where we're like, I don't want to really experience more of that. I want to experience more of this. And so now
Mm-hmm.
that's our clear picture as far as what we want to experience. And if we can express that to those that come into our space, then they
Mm-hmm.
can choose whether or not that's something that they want as far as their journey as well, because they have a clear picture as far as what they want. And
Hmm.
trying to change someone by, if we're not accepting it and trying to change someone, is just going to cause tension. And I've never heard a story of someone like being forced to change and then also not being resentful at the same time. Like
Yeah.
it's not
No, it doesn't
really
work.
possible.
It doesn't work because we already, men and women, like all of us have like some sort of inner feeling of I'm not enough. Um, Whether it's I'm not pretty enough, I'm not rich enough, I'm not successful enough, I'm not strong enough, smart enough, whatever. And so when we are with someone we love in that very intimate container and we're trying to change them, it's like causing even more damage. That, oh, I'm not enough as I am for you. I need to be something else, right? It's like, at least in this small container, let's at least accept each other for how we are, since out in the world, I already don't feel enough anyways, if we're being really honest with ourselves, right? Like I already have that fear of not being enough for this society, that when I come home and I'm in bed with you, let me be enough for you, right? Or just let me be enough for me, but in your presence.
It's interesting what you just described, because yeah, there's always things, and there's always things for all of us that we want to have evolve in this life, whether it's the amount of success or the amount of whatever it is, and that's a journey all in itself, as far as being able to be okay where we are and excited for the evolution of that area. And for those of us
Mm-hmm.
that can enjoy the whole journey of it, that's really the best advice that I could give anyone, as far as life and manifestation and just being here and being able to enjoy the present moment. Is it's
Mm-hmm.
cliche, but we talk about enjoy the journey, enjoy the process. But there's so many of
Mm-hmm.
us, and I've been here, where that used to be my greatest weakness, is thinking
Mm-hmm.
so much of I'll be happy when, which that doesn't
Yeah.
work. Good luck if that's your strategy in life. I'll be happy when I have the relationship, or I'll be happy when I have the success that I want. It just makes it a
Mm-hmm.
really rough go. And so in this example, when it comes to relationships, like if we can just get back to realizing how much we appreciate this person for the moment that we're in, and just being able to share the enjoyable moments, all the
Mm-hmm.
other stuff that is really future based anyways, which has nothing to do with if today were our last, what will we be thinking about that, or will we be enjoying the moments
Yeah.
that we have with each other? So just a great reminder,
Yeah.
that you're sharing with people, for sure.
Yeah. I love the quote, the future and the past only exist in one place, and it's the present. So
Absolutely.
the future can only exist in your mind anyways. It doesn't even exist, right? So you're just making things up. So
Yep.
the only reality is right now.
Yep. When we get to the
Yeah.
quote unquote future, it'll still be now.
Yeah. Exactly.
I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, I feel like I would be cheating the audience if I didn't keep going through these awesome steps with you. This is like an
Yeah.
easy flow. Like I'm never really like regimented, but now it's like it's flowing perfectly the way
Yeah.
you're
Perfect.
sharing.
Yeah. So let's do it. So the third step is self-actualization. So this is especially, I feel, important for women to be like pushed into, because I feel like it's something that's really, um, what do I want to say? It's for the masculine, it's natural to want to just drive towards, like your personal freedom and success and like what you're best at. And it's a lot more like your independence, kind of like I want to better myself in that whole area, if that makes sense, if I articulated that good at all.
We got you.
But and the feminine is a lot more focused on like love and connection. And so the feminine is always like, okay, I just need to make my relationship good. And then when this is good and solid and tight, then like I can be happy. And this is usually where things start like falling apart, because you start putting too much emphasis on the relationship. And that's when men tend to feel kind of like suffocated, right? So there's always like this push and pull. Like he's trying to just like grab onto his thing and like be ambitious and go for his thing. And she's like, can you come back and be with me? Like that's usually how it goes. So in this stage, it's like doing that for ourselves. Like, what is our purpose outside of relationships and being a good wife and good mother and all those things? Yes, those are beautiful things, but there's still more for us too. And so really cultivating like what our unique strengths are and what our values are and what matters to us, and creating that life purpose. I feel is so, so important because when you have something outside of the relationship that you're really passionate about, the relationship also thrives again because you're making yourself happy. And that's all that really makes a relationship happy is like two happy people. Right. And it's less about like always making the relationship work and so much like relationship work. It's just like self work and like making sure that you're completely satisfied and you're waking up happy. And even if your partner doesn't call or he's busy or he's on a business trip or whatever it is, you're still like, oh, good, have fun, honey. Like, I got things to do. You know what I mean? So that independence is super important. And like being excited about it too. Like, oh, like really having this excitement about what we're good at and what we like and what our influences on the world, because women are amazing and we tend to forget that. We tend to like kind of worship the man, and we should do that too, but not forget about ourselves. So that's the third step.
Things are evolving rapidly in 2020 in that area as far as women. You guys are doing such a great job of like creating like tribes. Like there's so many more like, and I'm very active on social media because I'm looking for people that are sharing the message and like sharing their light, and I'm attracted to them as far as wanting to collaborate and connect. And
Yeah.
like this, from the second that I saw Sarinia's page, like she had a voice message for me within like a split second. Like so she's awesome. So it's not like a long like deliberation period. Like I wonder is like this would be, I knew it would be an awesome
Yeah.
conversation if she wanted to partake. So I am seeing that evolving a lot for the ladies. Don't see as many like guy movements out there. For me personally, like I've asked myself, do I want to create things just for guys? But I just love the feminine energy so much that I want you guys to be involved in everything that I'm doing. So I haven't gone that route yet and may not ever. But my point is, and I'm probably gonna forget my point if I keep rambling about just stuff that didn't have anything to do with my point. But my thoughts always pop back into my mind, like because I'm just make sure I stay in the frequency that I received the thought, and so it came right back just now. So what I wanted to share, what I was inspired to share, I love how Sarinia has just said that two happy people makes a happy relationship. That's so simple and so profound. Like if we really can grasp that, here's what I love knowing about like human connection and our energy. Like all we can control, any of us, is our own energy that we bring to life. Like literally the only thing that we can control. And so if you make that important to you, like feeling that connection, being at least at peace and calm, again, not beating yourself up if you're feeling any other type of way, because if you beat yourself up, then you just feel worse and worse and worse. Energy is all momentum. So what the cool thing about energy is that we can be at peace and calm. From that place, we can, have awesome ideas pop in our mind. We can have cool interactions with other people. Like we're in the flow in that space. And then momentum can also carry us up to where, that cool idea could lead to an excitement about life and like a passion and just having fun and a joy and a bliss. And, there's no limit to how good we can feel energetically. And there's also no limit to how how bad we can feel energetically. Like it's infinite both directions. My point is, when it comes to human connection, if we just control the only thing that we can control, which is what our energy is that we're bringing to a relationship or to just life period, and we like that becomes what's most important to us. Like for me, this is like most important. I only focus on one thing: present moment awareness, present moment frequency, energy, vibration, mood, whatever you want to call it. Because I know that if I just control that and maintain that where I like to be or how I like to live, every other human on the planet has just one option with me: either come play with me here, like just we can come enjoy life here, or you might. I've had people say, like close friends or family of mine, like, no, well, you're too much for me right now. I can't go there with you, and it's all good. Like we'll co-create when you're ready to come play with me here. But what I'm not willing to do anymore, which is what I've done, we've probably all done it, is say, I was in such a good mood before you came around, and why are you always raining on my parade? Blaming. Now my energy is dropping down. So now I'm playing with them in a frustrated, and then making them the reason why, which is not. It's me. It's always us. We always have the power. And so if we just know that about life, like in a relationship or anything, just be non-negotiable about, if we're going to be speaking to each other, like I want to speak to you from a peaceful, calm, loving, happy, joyful place. Because if not, if I'm frustrated or worried or anxious and I choose to have a conversation with a partner or with whoever, what are the words going to be? If I'm in a frustrated energy, am I going to be saying loving words? No, be saying frustrated words to them, angry words to them. So how's that going to be received by, my partner, unless they've decided that they're just going to maintain their frequency, be like, well, you're too much right now. Like, I don't want to deal with this frustrated conversation. So if they're at a point where they could just walk away or just be like, I'm not going to go there with you, But a lot of
Mhm.
times that's not the case. So you end up having this interaction in your relationships or partnerships where it is this just frustrated, heavy energy. And what are the
Mhm.
results of that, in life ever? So
Yeah, yeah, that's really important what you said, because we especially do that in relationships, right? Like the whole I was in a great mood and then you brought me down, because we get so interconnected, and that's natural, but it's really important to create those emotional boundaries where you can sense it and you're like, "Okay, I see you're having a hard time right now. Do you want to talk about it, or can I help you? If not, if you want to stay right there, like, I love you so much and I'm going to go over here," and just like allowing yourself to have that space, that we're not always going to be at the same level at the same time. But like the best thing you can do is stay at your high, because you might also bring them back up to that equilibrium. Like that can be contagious if you just see that person staying in their element and not, because when they get upset, it's even harder for you to get out of it, right? Because now you feel bad for feeling bad, because now you made them feel bad, and it's just all bad.
for sure.
So
It just
yeah.
it keeps spiraling. And what Sarinia just said right there is so important, because you can, if we walk into a room and we're being the light, we'll bring the people to us to the light, or they just won't want to be around us any more than we'll really want to be around them. And it's all good. So
Yeah.
it's just one of the two, but you can for sure pull people up to where you are, to where people just have a great feeling when you come around, because like you're like there. And it's not that we want to like be this like forever for someone, because they're their own light, but it's okay to
Hmm.
be the light for others around, where they could feel
Yeah.
like an energetic boost by you coming in. Like that would be how I would want to be perceived by any human on the planet. Like whenever Noel comes around, I just get an energetic boost. Awesome. But
Yeah.
um, I love that. I love what you just said.
Mhm.
Super important. Okay, next what are we on, 4 now?
Yes.
Self
That's
actualization. Now number
so
4.
step 4 is connection.
Okay.
So it's like these first 3 steps are all about you, right? And before I even talk about relationships, it's like we get really, really good and clear on you. That's the most important thing. Then we can bring in connection and start talking about like relationship dynamics and the masculine and feminine, which has been really powerful learnings for me, just learning about the masculine and feminine energetics, because I'm a very feminine woman. And I think like we're all both, right? Like a well-rounded person is someone who can tap into both feminine and masculine. Like, yes, I can get shit done. Yes, I can manifest and visionize, right? So there's that. But at the heart of it, like my essence is pretty feminine, pretty soft and pretty, chill. My partner, opposite. Like got he still has some feminine to bring in to his essence, because he's just like full-blown masculine, right?
I saw him
And
on Instagram. Your partner is like, he's like he's into fitness and weightlifting and all these things.
yeah, yeah. So he used to be a professional bodybuilder. Now he doesn't do it as a profession. He doesn't compete or anything like that. But he still keeps up fitness. Um, but yeah, so there was like this constant, like just like fighting all the time, like constant, like you're too much of this and you're too much, again, with the not accepting each other and not seeing those differences as strengths. So like where I'm lacking, he makes up, and vice versa. So when I finally started acknowledging that, like, oh wow, it's really perfect that you're that way, because 2 of me would not be good. I don't need a very, very like sensitive, emotional, soft person all the time, because we're gonna like not get places, right? So really like honoring each other's strengths and differences, and how we communicate and how we share our feelings and all those things are really valuable, so that that tension is still there, but now we turn it into sexual polarity, which is super important, right? It's like magnets. It's like positive and negative, they attract. So the more polarity, the better, actually. But if you can stop clashing in like argumentative ways and just turn it into more of a sexual play, it can really boost your connection. So that's just one aspect, but just, different communication skills in this phase is really, really important. And everything is really communication, but there's like so many of us, we say, well, we talk all the time and we're not getting anywhere. Most communication is not in the words, right? It's in the tone, it's in body language, it's in timing, it's in all these different things. So just for example, like one really valuable lesson is like ask permission for a conversation. Like, hey, can you let me know when would be a good time? Rather than bombarding people, like, listen, I got to talk about this, right? Because you never know like what energetic state someone is in. We're always in our heads. We're always thinking about things or like worrying about things or trying to get things done. So we're not at each other's disposal like that. So like bringing in that respect and like really, I'll just constantly honoring that this is a different person than me. So they're probably going to receive this differently than I think that I'm, displaying it. So all these different things just really, really create better connection. And then also, yeah, bringing in those insecurities. And like I said, with the jealousy, we can turn all of those into connection. There's such a way that whatever negative state or negative emotion you're feeling, you can turn that into connection with your partner. Like, we know we're here for each other. That's why we're here. We're partners, right? So it's not like we always have to be perfect and always be on our A game and always be positive and bubbly and all the things. But you can give this person an opportunity to be of service, which we all love to do. Like we love being of service, right? We don't like being blamed. We don't like feeling like we're the burden. But if you tell me you have a problem and there's some way that I can help you, like just by being here, just by listening, or just by, doing something for you, that's amazing. That makes me feel great. So just learning how to communicate in that way is so, so helpful.
I love it. So important. And I love the what you said right at the beginning with the polarity and turning it into, sexual play, like instead of like clashing, like it's so, so important. I love everything you just described. And the one thing that I just want to just reiterate for the audience is my best advice is whenever you go into communicating with any human being, just bring the best version of, like, you don't have to be blissed out. Like, you don't have to, like, I'm not demanding that of myself. You are awesome. You might be even too much energy for some people if you're trying to come to a conversation like that. But if you could at least come at like peace and calm, and to where, because here's what I know about communication and about words. Like, we can use the analogy of like a radio signal. So we're all frequency, we're all vibration, we're all energy. I've been to events, Sarinia, where I've had the EEG scanners like on my brain, like showing me energy in the moment, where I was sad and happy and like everything in between. Like, to be able to see frequency in the moment is pretty awesome. And so my point is, like, if we want to hear like R&B or hip hop or country or whatever it is, what do? We turn the radio or XM radio, we tune to the specific channel so that we can hear that radio frequency. Well, we're just frequency as well. So just the example I used of, none of us are ever going to be frustrated or angry and think loving thoughts and say loving words because we're on the angry radio station. So just being able to be aware of what our frequency is going into communicating with other human beings. Like, if we know we're at peace and content, or, or feeling better, happy, in a good mood, just put it that way, then we know that the channel, like what we're going to the radio frequency we're on, is going to be thoughts of that. So you can trust your thoughts and your words, and they're going to be compassionate. They're not going to be blaming or angry or making them wrong, because none of that information is coming from the connected frequency, from that channel. That's coming from the disconnecting ourselves frequency. So to be able to know the difference makes human communication so much easier, because I just don't have to think about what I'm saying. Like, if I'm feeling loving and happy, like I could just flow out whatever comes out from that.
Yeah, like, and just like one thing to remember is, how can I bring love into the situation? And even if it's anger, right? Because you're not going to be super calm when you're angry. But if you can like lash out, like, I love you, but I'm so mad right now, right? Like, I'm so fucking pissed, but I love you. it just changes everything, right? It's like, we need to express our emotions the way they are, rather than trying to make everything positive. But you can always drop into love, and you can always bring your heart into it. And that makes all the difference.
If Sarinia was on the EEG scanner when she just did that example right now, so she would have been like, I'm so mad at you, but I love you. And I'm so so that awareness is allowing her frequency not to go so low, because it's momentum. So if we just allow our anger to just go and go and go, you have no idea what you might say from like rage, I just throwing, you just have no idea where it can go at that point. So just that awareness, like, stops the momentum, which is so important. Like, I'm all about just awareness of energy, so I can slow momentum down and move it
Yeah.
back towards what I want. So
Momentum. That's a good one. I'm going to use that. Thank you.
yeah, yeah, that was I saw it when you were doing that because I felt it too. Like you said it, and then you pulled it back up.
Yeah.
That takes awareness. Like you just like, and that's all I care about for people is just to be aware of that because you can't do
Mhm.
that if you're not aware of it. You just will keep going down. You know,
Mhm.
you'll feel worse and worse and worse. So that's
Mhm.
awesome. I love that.
Very true.
Okay, you're on number five. I'd love, first of all, before Sarinia shares the fifth thing, like definitely you guys out there, I'm sure that you've already been inspired by this conversation. Connect with Sarinia on social media, and if you're inspired to reach out to her for coaching or any of this stuff, I highly recommend it because I could just feel the energy and just how these steps are laid out, and what she's sharing it will benefit anyone that there's even a slight energetic pull to like, that sounds interesting. That's always a
Mhm.
really great next step on our journeys in life. And I highly
Mhm.
recommend following those little nudges because there's some life experience there, some clarity to grasp that can help anybody on their journey. So highly, highly
Mhm.
recommend it. I can already feel how much you're helping people with what you're doing. So you're awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so the last step is commitment. And this is to shift the idea of committing to a person to committing to the consciousness. So this step really came through to me because we'll get on a personal level now. So I always figured, well, I'm a monogamous person, and monogamy is the way to be, right? And I think a lot of women can relate, especially men, maybe not so much. So um, and that was also a big problem that kept recurring in my relationships. Like I was usually cheated on. And when I got into this relationship, my partner was always very honest from the beginning of like, when things started getting serious, I really love you and I want to be with you and I'm committed to you, but I don't know about sexual monogamy, right? And so this started opening my awareness even further to what is commitment then, right? Like, and why do we kind of like squash it down to, well, if you only have sex with me, then you're committed. Whereas there's people who will, like, I mean, be abusive to you in a million different ways, but still remain sexually monogamous, and you think that's commitment, right? Like not honoring you in so many other ways that's okay. But the whole sexual thing is really interesting. So I mean, the stage isn't all about that, like monogamy in any way, but that's sort of how I got to it. Of like, okay, can I be with someone still who is totally committed to me, but not sexually? And this is just what kind of opened that door of like, oh, I'm not. It's not about committing on a very human level. It's more of like committing to each other's consciousness. So and to me, that what that really means is I'm committed to my spirit and I want you to be committed to your spirit. In other words, I want you to be committed to always doing what is the best thing for you, the most loving thing for your spirit, right? Because that is what I want. And that's different than being with someone who's cheating on you because they're actually not even committed to their truth. Because someone who is honest says, hey, this is my sexuality, this is my preference, this is what I want, right? And that is something that I got really on board with. I was like, yeah, that is the kind of person I want to be with. So, yeah, so this is kind of reframing what we think about commitment. And even with mistakes, like even if someone does cheat and then they tell you this is what happened or whatever it is, it's like looking deeper than the act itself and looking at what is best for this person and what are they trying to reveal to me and what are they trying to reveal to themselves, because we're always changing and evolving anyways. So sometimes people think they want one thing and in 5 years they want something else, right? And so we should honor that instead of containing ourselves to, no, I said this, so I will stay this way forever. That's not honoring your spirit and that's not being committed to your evolution. Um, so in terms of like lifelong partnership, which was something that I was really interested in, and like, how can we create lifelong partnership without stifling our evolution? Because what I say right now means I have to stick to that and not change. So in that way, we can be committed to a person for life if we're committed to the consciousness and not to the, kind of promises that we make in a, yes, physical reality world if we're thinking more spiritually. So this is kind of what, like the end of this program is just like the opening to like the more spiritual world. Everything else is very physical, like what we can do here and now. And then that is just like the opening door to the rest of like full surrender. And of course the whole program really builds up to make sure that you are with the person who you want to commit to their consciousness, right? Because I believe that it does matter who you choose, right? Because otherwise we'll find someone who's actually not honoring us, not honoring themselves. Like I said, the person who cheats on you, he's cheating on himself because he's not being honest about what his truth is. Then we just can start to make excuses for people. Like, well, I'm just committed. So no matter what he does to me or to himself, it's like I'm committed. There's a difference, if you know what I mean. A difference to committing to that higher consciousness and to just committing out of need to be with someone and fear of being without them and that sort of thing. So it's a lot. It's like I would have to, I don't want to.
I love where this conversation went, Sarinia. You have no idea. You're about to find out, but the audience knows that they've been listening for a while. I was going to ask about this because I was very curious whenever I talk to love and relationship coaches, just what their views are on monogamy, just because what we're taught in America, at least, I'm sure it's similar around the world, is we see what's shown to us in like Disney movies with like the princess and prince. And not that someone out there couldn't have that, like we can have whatever we want as far as our desires go. But that's all that we're really shown. And that's kind of what forms what our thoughts are about a relationship, when we're growing up. At least for me, that's all I really knew. I didn't know that there was even an option. And I say all that to say, like the person that was my best friend from 2000, still one of my closest friends in the world. They live in Hawaii now, but my ex-girlfriend, we were together for 6 years from 2010 to 2016. Just awesome. So like she met me right after I discovered law of attraction and just started going on my spiritual journey. So therefore she chose to come on the spiritual journey with me. So we were just like evolving and turning into these two like powerful beings like together. And it's had such a cool experience. What I didn't know in 2010 that I know now, but that I was even starting to realize in 2000 by halfway through, so we're talking about like 2013, was like my enjoyment for human connection and being up. Like I love the mystery and adventure of life. Like I love when the universe brings someone into my path that I didn't even know existed 5 seconds ago, and all of a sudden like we're connecting and we just want to spend like the rest of the day together. Whether that leads to something sexual or not, that for me that's been a very important part of my life for a long time. But I suppressed it when I was in those first 3 years of that relationship, just out of the honoring of the commitment that we made to each other. But inside, I felt like I was neglecting my favorite part of life, because I would see someone I was attracted to that before the relationship, I would have for sure went up and said hello to and introduced myself to see who they were. But I would just like turn away because I'm like, I can't go there because I know I want to. That just violates, like, I can't just go up to whoever I want anymore because I'm in this relationship. So it was just like eating away at me. And then finally, like 3 years in, I broke up because I said, this is a part of my life that I really like. It's like my favorite part. And I love all of the relationship. I love everything about a relationship. We had like 4 animals together, 2 cats, 2 dogs. Like we were just like chilling, living on the beach in LA. Like it was all good. So I did that and, got enjoyment out of, connecting with some other human beings. But then at the same time, wanted to experience more of the relationship. So had another 3 years of that, still not being aware of, being able to verbalize what I'm verbalizing now. So long story short, broke up. We split for good in 2016. I remained friends. She's dating someone in Hawaii now. She was living here in Miami with me. But my point is now it's so freeing because I can be 100% honest because I'm so clear because of all the life experience like we talked about throughout this episode with everybody that comes into my life now, and just letting them know like my favorite part of life is human connection, and not trying to predict too much of what's going to happen in the future, but just knowing that I don't want to neglect any parts of myself on the inside that are important to me. Because when I connect with someone, like what I share with them is you get 100% of me. Like my 100% presence. Like if I've chosen to spend
Mhm.
time with you and you've chosen to spend time with me, like all the stuff
Mhm.
that I'm sharing on podcasts and all this stuff, like you know it too. Like if you bring this out, like if you have questions or if you bring up stuff and I'm like inspired to share, like you get 100% of Noel, which might be more than what you asked for out there. Some of you are laughing to hear this podcast because I know some people that I've connected with in this way listen to this show for sure. But you know this about honest about that, and like I want everybody to live whatever version of their life that they want to live too. So
Mhm.
I love that you just described what you described, because I mean, really for me, the only way that I could be in a committed relationship would be like you
Mhm.
described, like consciously to where, because I care about people so much. And like I've
Yeah.
maintained, like there's some people that I met over the last 4 years since I've been single that, you know, I've connected with, shared awesome things with. They were questioning at the time whether they could attract someone to get married to and have kids with. And now since then have attracted a husband and have kids,
Mhm.
are still friends with me, because not that we're, you know, connected like that anymore, but they're like doing their thing, what they really desired. But like I
Mhm.
was just someone that the universe brought into their path and vice versa, so we can enjoy moments of life, which is all that any of us have, by the way. So it's just like we were talking about this. So I just appreciate the moments for what they are and root for everybody to have whatever it is that they want to be, do, and have. And I totally, like I love what you're doing, because you're just leaving the opening for people to just be clear on what's most important to them, and then knowing
Mhm.
that all of us can attract that. And I'm
Mhm.
totally on board with that. I love that you shared that way. And yeah, if and we're always evolving, like you said. So who knows
Mhm.
what desires I'll have as far as 5 years from now, or even, you know, a day from now. But as of
Mhm.
right now, I know that if I'm going to be committed, it will be to growing with someone consciously, and
Mhm.
both people having the freedom to experience life however is important to them. Like I don't ever tell the words, when you said that in the beginning of the episode, shoulds and shouldn'ts, that doesn't even
Yeah.
come out of my mouth, because where is it
Yeah.
written? Like where I don't, just do whatever is most inspired to do for you, and I'm going to do what's most inspired, and we can communicate. And if that's in alignment to where we still want to spend time with each other,
Mhm.
awesome, because that's all we have
Yeah.
is that time. So
Mhm.
I just said a
Do
lot.
you have you seen that in your experience that it needs to be separate for you? Like, or do you see that you could have a primary relationship and then things on the side, or do you see like more like different actually romantic relationships? Like, if, or how do you, or have you not thought too much about it?
I've thought a lot. This is my favorite topic in the world. Like I have this, I could talk about this topic for forever. Like for me, so I was the 10-year-old kid trying to figure out what girls liked. And like I noticed they didn't pay attention to me playing basketball out on the playground. Like they don't care, they're doing their own thing. So I was like, that's not the way to
Mhm.
get their attention. I was the 13-year-old that me and my best friend went used to compete, seeing how many phone numbers we can get in the mall, and just like going up. Just so rejection has never been a thing, because some would be nice, some wouldn't be, but at least I knew now which side of the coin you were on. So like this has been my favorite part of life for a long time. But
Mhm.
now it's just being honest from day one with someone, knowing that if we're both choosing to spend time with each other today, awesome. Like you're
Mhm.
getting 100% of me. If we choose to spend time again tomorrow, awesome. If you choose to go do something else, or I choose to go do something else, awesome. But just living moment by moment and not putting too much like emphasis on like what's going on. Now, I will say,
Mhm.
because I'm open right now, like I'm calling in for someone because I do enjoy the parts of the relationship where it's like sometimes you just want to like chill, and like you don't want to always be, because my mind is always like, who's going to be the next like awesome human that I get to connect with. Like
Mhm.
it's always on my mind, because I'm single. It's like there's no one.
Yeah.
If I don't go connect with someone today, then I'm just going to chill solo today, which I'm totally good with too. And it's been that
Yeah.
way for 4 years. So that's another thing, to live like how I'm living. Like you have to be totally okay with being solo as well, because come
Mhm.
like holiday times and all this stuff, like you don't have a significant other around unless
Mhm.
unless you've created that type of relationship, which we can have
Mhm.
it all. We don't have to have one or the other, which I know
Mhm.
to be true. So I'm open to attracting someone that is okay with being, open and experiencing life, and not putting like rules or regulations on it, because I'm not
Mhm.
going to do that to anyone. And I'm just going to continue doing what is important to me, but
Yeah.
just doing it honestly. So yeah, I'm just really moment by moment. Like I'm so present. Like when I'm hanging out with someone, the rest of the planet doesn't exist, and everybody can feel that from me. Like my phone's on do not disturb. Like all I care about is like how much fun we can have in this moment. Because once we understand that about energy, that even though we use words in English called bliss, euphoria, nirvana, ecstasy, we can feel even better than that. And the way to do it is anytime we're having fun doing anything. Doesn't have to be sexual, it could be anything. Like for me,
Mhm.
I've noticed I can go energetically places when I'm connected and sexually with someone, where I can't really go if I'm just like reading a book or something. It's just, I
Mhm.
can feel good doing that, but this is a different space.
Yeah.
And so there's no limit to where that can go. So, I just want people to feel for me, and they do, that when we're actually choosing to both spend time together, like, let's just see
Mhm.
how much fun we can have. Like how let's, I like to say this, like, I- after having a fun experience with someone, I like to say, I'm so happy for anyone else on the planet if they're having as much fun as we're having right now, because it can only be a tie. Like, it's just, I can't
Yeah.
really see, as far as being able to see energy, like, you gotta be having that much more fun than us right now. So I'm so happy for anyone out on the planet. It's a
Yeah.
7.7 billion of us. So I always like to think, is anybody on the planet having as much fun as we're having right now? So
Mhm.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah, definitely. I think that if we can all just remember that in our relationships, like what I'm taking from that is yes, presence. Because if you're just here right now, you have less to suffer about. Because let's say, even if someone, like the person that you love, sleeps with someone else, that's usually not the problem because it happened and now they're with you, and like there's nothing happening right now. But you're replaying it every single day and you're not present because you're just here, like what happened over there though? What happened that day? And I think that's where like our suffering happens, because we just can't be right here. Like your love is right in front of you and you can choose to have an amazing day. So why not choose that, you know? And or else let them go, right? But to with holding on and controlling and then this condemning, that's not fair. To like punish someone for like years because of, who they are. It's like, well, just choose not to be with them then.
for sure.
And I think that that a lot of women do want to be with that person, and there is something very attractive about not owning someone, that knowing that, okay, so they can have other people, and so every moment that they're choosing me, especially if it's like all the time, almost every day, right, then I'm really really lucky, and I can have gratitude for that, that like I'm kind of encompassing this person's presence, and they're so amazing that everyone else is missing out, and I'm getting it all for myself, right? We're not noticing how I guess selfish we are when we need even more. Like, no, but I need you all, like,
I'm chomping at the bit to say something right here. You guys out there in the audience want to hear what, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't be this way, but just think about this, like, become aware of what I'm getting ready to share right now. Because what I just described, as far as, is there anyone even on the planet having as much fun? Wouldn't you want that for any human being? Like, wouldn't you be happy for
Mhm.
any human being if that's how they're described? Whether it was, obviously you would want that with you because you want to experience that too. But if someone's having it, and I'm not saying they're doing it in the context of like cheating, because I love how you said that. They're not even being honest with
Yeah.
themselves then. And like, can you really have that type of experience if you're like deceiving and like sneaking around? I don't personally
Right.
think the energy can get to that point from there. So I'm not saying it from that context. But in
Mhm.
the context of like, I'm not doing anything wrong, I'm just enjoying, life. Wouldn't we be happy for any other human on the planet except for the one that we're not happy for, as the one that we say that we love? Like, when we can wrap that on in our minds, like, it's just,
Mhm.
again, I'm not saying it in the context of you guys have an agreement to be monogamous, like that's your agreement, so all good.
Mhm.
But I'm saying, like, we would be happy for every other human on the planet if they told you, I just had one of my favorite life experiences that I've ever had. Wouldn't we be
Mhm.
happy for everyone? So why aren't we happy for, the people that we say that we love? I told my
Mhm.
ex, and I still love her to death. Like, she's awesome. We just talked a few days ago. Like, we talk still a lot 4 years later. We built awesome business together. Like, it was just, but I told her before we split, because I just wanted to, and I knew that we hadn't agreed on this prior to starting. So I had zero expectation. Like, I wanted her to do whatever felt like in tune with, what, she wanted for her life. And that's what I expected her to do. And I said, if I could even, because when I live here on South Beach, like the beach is right there. So one of my favorite activities to do, I love to run on the beach. And there's been plenty of times since I've been single where like I'll be running and like someone will catch my attention. And it's those times where you're like making eye contact with someone. It's like you're already talking before you even like started talking. It's like, there's a
Mhm.
reason that both of us are here right now. And then it's like end up spending like the rest of the day with this human. And it's like, this has just been an awesome day. Like, I went from exercising in a place that I love, like enjoying life, to now one of my favorite life experiences has just happened. And out of nowhere. And then I got to share awarenesses with this human being, because I love all of that. Like, I love just sharing 100% of myself with whoever comes in my path, whether it leads to anything sexual or not. I prefer that it do, but that's a different story. So my point is,
Mhm.
I even said to my ex, I said, even if I just didn't have to close off my life to the synchronicities that happen, that are, the universe knows is my favorite part. So when I'm open to it, they just come when I'm ready to receive them. Like, even if I could have like my own studio in South Beach, to where I only went there like if like a synchronicity popped off, and like it was just, and then every other day, like you described, like I'm hanging out, because I love hanging out with the family. Like, I consider it a family. Like, we had dogs and cats. Like, we were just chilling.
Yeah.
But I like, again, I didn't have any expectations, and I couldn't get disappointed when that wasn't what she wanted, because she wanted something different, and I supported her in that. But you know, for me, my life experience has shown me that like we can have it all, but it's just a matter of, you know, attracting it, and it's all good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Be happy for everyone out there. I mean, and be honest with each other. But if you can get to the point out there where you can just be happy for other people, not just in the sexual context, but if you see someone doing something awesome on social media, all that person is a different physical expression of you. Like, we're all mirrors to each other. So the same non-physical energy that is making their heartbeat is making your heartbeat, allowing your brain to function, allowing the planets to orbit. That's them. So we could be happy for each other's successes and excitements. Like, that's just going to cause more excitement and successes and everything that we desire for us as well. So, so important.
Yeah. And if we find that we're not having that happiness for others, it just means we have to do more of what makes us happy. Because when we are happy, we genuinely are happy for others. Like, you know, happy people want others to be happy, and only hurt people want to hurt people, you know? So it's always, like I said, it's always a mirror. Not just your romantic relationship, but every relationship is a mirror. Like, every person standing in front of you is like, how do you feel about yourself today? Right? It's like, when I go out and I see a beautiful woman and I'm like, wow, you're so beautiful. I recognize that it's because I'm feeling beautiful that day. So I'm able to like share that, you know, rather than holding it to myself like, oh man, she looks fucking good. And then, you know, because I don't feel that I look that good that day, right? So it's always just, it's allowing us to check in with ourselves.
Great point.
How we feel about others, yeah.
Great point. Yeah, great indicators for us. If we find ourselves feeling any type of way about another, then it's just a great reminder of, how am I feeling about, you know, myself right now? I love that you just use that analogy. That's awesome. I love this. I love where this conversation just went. And I'm extreme when it comes to this, Sarinia. Like, I'm really happy for other people. So much so, like, I've told people that I've been seeing that, and this hasn't happened specifically that I know of, but maybe it has, because we've all, especially the single people, like, there's times where you'll be, you know, flaked on, or someone will like change plans last minute. For one, I'm always super curious what the universe has in store for me whenever something I think is going to happen that day doesn't, whether it be an appointment or, you know, a date or whatever it is. I'm curious to see what the universe has in store for me, like, elsewhere. And then actually, I've had some really awesome synchronicities flow in all areas of life, when the other things that I thought were going to happen didn't. But I've even told people, like, even if you're like on your way to come see me and you get a text from, like, you know, high school crush or like celebrity crush or like whoever, and you're like way more excited to go hang out, don't feel obligated to me. Like, go do it. Like, I want you living your highest excitement. Like, go experience life. Whether it's like breaking plans with me, it doesn't matter like how my involvement, because if we're both choosing, then I know we're going to have an awesome time together. But if there's something else that you'd rather be choosing, like, I prefer you to go choose that and go experience your life and do that. So.
And I feel exactly the same way in relationship. Like, if you see someone who you really want to spend a night with, I don't want you in my bed. Like, I want you to go, you know what I mean? Like, I want you to do what you actually want to do. Rather than saying like, no, you can't, you have to be with me. It doesn't feel good to be with someone who could be happier, right? Like, that's where it really comes down to like being happy for other people's happiness. Like, I know I'm going to be with the best partner as long as he's making himself really happy. But as soon as he's resenting me because he's trapped, I'm not going to be in a great partnership, you know?
You inspire me to say one more thing, Sarinia. So it's not that a guy is doing anything because he feels it will make him happier than being with you. I'm not saying this to you specifically, but just to anyone. It's just every experience in life, every life experience, whether it be sexual or non, is different. That they're all different life experiences, and none of them energetically feel the same. And so if there's something that someone wants to go experience, they have a, this is the same thing I said when I encourage the audience to, if you guys are feeling any energetic pull to participate in what Sarinia is doing when it comes to coaching, like go for that. Like that life experience, there's something there for you. And where we start feeling, where we start feeling, I don't want to say resentful, but it was hurtful for me when I started neglecting, anytime I'm neglecting pulls from the universe shows me, and I want to experience life in a certain way, and I deny that, like it just, a piece of me is just, and eventually it's kind of like, I don't feel like I can experience that anymore. And that's when you kind of feel trapped. And it's just, and that's just me personally, that's my personal life
Yeah.
experience. It's not, I'm not projecting that on anybody out there. But I just highly recommend any life experience that you're drawn to, in the context of, being able to be honest and being able to be within the confines of the law. Don't lose your freedom over it. Like, that's my preference.
Right.
I don't do anything that could cause loss of freedom for me. So that's
Yeah.
my preference.
I have one question for you.
Yeah.
As a single person, because I haven't been single in a long time, what is your preferred way of meeting people? Do you like dating apps? Do you like the Instagram DM? Do you like more in-person spontaneity, or all of the above?
So I've used all of the above. However, less Instagram. As my, I guess, popularity grows and blue check mark comes, maybe I might use that more, because I know, like, it must be so much easier for them to just slide into. So, but I meet
Yeah.
people in person so easily because I come from an era of, there was no dating apps. Like before I was in my last relationship, there was no dating apps. 2010, there was no dating app then. So like I meet a lot of people just being out in the world. I meet a lot of people on the beach. Like there's never a time, if I'm open, and here's just kind of how I am also. Like I typically only have my like attraction sensors on to where I'm like open to meeting people. Ideally, if I could spend the rest of the day with them, if it goes there, like that's just how I am. So if I see someone that I'm attracted to and I go up and talk, I'm talking from a place of like, we can go have drinks after this, or we can go have lunch, or we can, like, if we want to keep hanging out with each other, that's just how I've always been. So if I have like lots of stuff going on and like I'm just going to the gym because I got like an hour and a half to work out and then I have a podcast to record, like I'm not really in the world like that. So the universe doesn't even really send me, possibilities. And then there's days where maybe I've had a bunch of stuff going on and I might not be out in the world that much, but I am open to hanging out with someone, tonight. Only time I go on dating apps is if I'm open to hanging out with someone tonight. Like I'm not on there setting up things for the future.
Okay.
A lot of people do it differently, but like I noticed that when I'm like messaging with people, because I'm always looking to find out, what are you up to like tonight? That's
Yeah.
all the reason I'm on here. Like if not, then if I'm not open, then I'm not even on there, because it's just, I got other
Yeah.
things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I use all of it, but I really enjoy meeting people in person, because I feel like you get the real version of them, because they're like meeting you like in person. I think sometimes people have their online personality and how they act, which is why I'm so like to the point. Like I'm not asking you any questions that I'm going to ask you in person, because I have questions for days when we actually are hanging out in person, because I don't know who you are. Like I'm super curious about you, but I'm not asking any of that on the app, because I just want to see if you want to meet in person so that we can ask all
Yeah.
these questions to each other. So that's just my
Yeah,
flow.
I'm the same. I mean, I've only met people in person. I've never even downloaded a dating app. But now I'm hearing it all the time from women that I talk to, that's kind of like the way now. Um, so yeah, I was just curious.
A
But
lot of people never experience, like, I don't know how old you are, but a lot of people never experience like when they were single, like having, a lot of people, their only experience of being like in the dating world has been with dating apps. Because I don't remember when like Tinder got popular, but it's been a little while now. So a lot of people's main experience has been only that. I don't think they
yeah,
had the benefit of like, sometimes girls would be like, because there's, so times like right now, it's like spring break in Miami, and there's just like way too much testosterone here for me. Like there's just too many people going around. Like I'll be happy when they all go back to where, I'm happy they're having fun, but at the same time, you're making it a little bit too uncomfortable for humans like me that like to communicate and talk to attractive girls. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I think a lot of people's experience in dating world is just the swipe culture, which, kind of can make it easier. So I guess it becomes more of like a numbers game. But at the end of the day, it's like,
but
once you're
then
actually hanging out with someone, that's when the real like communication
yeah,
happens.
I mean, my favorite part is chemistry. of like you said, you just make eye contact and you already know. It's like, all right, this is probably going to be a good day if this person talks to me, right? Um, and then like, have you ever felt like, okay, so I'm free tonight, and then you find a person, you meet up, and then you don't even have the chemistry, and it kind of feels like, oh man, I
See,
picked the wrong one.
I love that you asked me this though, because all that I'm looking for, just because I understand as human beings, this is why I have compassion and I don't think I'm any better or worse than anyone, is because we're
Mm,
all energy. So we all have the capability of feeling happy, blissful, joyful, loving, and powerless, depressed, and angry, and everything in between. Like we all have that capability. So because I only am willing to play with someone, especially in a dating environment, like a first dating, like only willing to play with someone in like happy, excited, like just interested for who you are, all I'm
mm,
looking for is, am I physically attracted to you? And because I know that you're going to interact with me, I'm going to get the best version of you when you're interacting with me, regardless of, you know, what that looks like or what your story is or any of that. So I really have
mm,
never had any, I won't say never, I can think of one off the top of my head, but I understand why she came into my life because I gave some additional perspective on, there was more of an emphasis on the shadow side of life, which nothing wrong with
mm,
it, but that was like her main focus.
mm,
We mentioned that a little bit in this episode. A lot of the things that, when it comes to like shadow work, the most important parts of that for me was uncovering blind spots, you know, parts
mm,
of my shadow that I didn't even know were affecting my energy. Those are the parts that I asked the universe to show me, because
mm,
again, without an awareness of them, I couldn't do anything about them. And, you know, this was maybe 6, 7 years ago, and I was being critical of myself and others, more importantly. As an alpha male athlete, we used to talk so much shit to each other.
mm.
I was a baseball player, and if anybody listened from the outside, like, do they even like each other? Like, are they teammates? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? So, like, I was never that to like people verbally, but even like mentally, if you're talking shit all the time, if someone like speeds past you and be like, what, you know, you just,
Yeah.
it can affect your energy like throughout the day. You not even realize it. So,
Yeah.
um, but for the most part, when people are, you know, brought into my life, it's always for a reason other than just the physical. Also, like I always notice,
Yeah.
like I'm able to share things with them and have some really good like connections with people. That it's just fun for me. I love sharing what I know with
Yeah.
any human that is attracted into my path. So I like
Yeah.
all the elements of it. So, you know, I don't really have any bad experiences at all.
That's
I just
good.
have to choose the physical attraction right. Because sometimes girls, I will say online, and if you're listening out there, don't do this. But you know, because I'm not able to meet you in person. Like sometimes there's only like the zoomed in version. Like yeah, you have a pretty face, but do you even have legs? Do you have arms? Nothing wrong with it if you don't. But I just would like
Yeah.
to know, because you know, I'd have to choose if I saw you out in the world and like you were only just like a floating head, then I'd have to
Yeah.
choose whether I wanted to go up and speak to you or not. So since I don't have that option, you could be
Mhm.
more, because I've had to like ask people to send me, which I will, like send me like their social media profile so I could actually see who they
Mm. Oh
are,
yeah,
make
that's
sure
a
they're
good
not like a
idea.
bot, you know, just like, are you a real
Yeah.
person? And then had to tell them, well, I'm always nice about it, but you know, everybody has like a specific, you know, physical type that they're into, and you know, you're not mine specifically, but I know that you probably are a lot of people's. Like I'm trying to say it nicely, but I wish I didn't even have
Mm.
to say that. But because you didn't show me that before we like connected,
Mm.
I'm kind of being
Mm.
misled. Like, and I have to be honest with you because
Mhm.
I just, I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, honestly, even if it's hard, it's always the best
Yeah,
thing you can do, I think. Yeah.
no, I have to be like, that's only version of me that I can give, because if I'm
Mhm.
choosing, again, if I'm choosing to spend my time with anyone, like they're getting 100% of me, and
Mhm.
like I just want to be like fully there. Like I don't want to be thinking like about anything else, whether it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you misled me, like I should have got their social media. And the only reason I started doing that is because I have been tricked a little bit once or twice, maybe once. It's all good.
It's fun.
It's been a fun conversation. This will be fun
Yeah.
for the audience to hear.
Yeah.
Last question I have for you, and you've done this
Mhm.
the whole time. Anything, knowing that the internet will probably live for a very long time, forever.
Mhm.
Someone could hear this episode right when it's released, or 100 years from now. So, just anything that you would want to share with humanity that you feel will uplift them and impact them. It could be anything. You've been doing it the whole time, but anything that flows out that you want to share.
Sure. So, I would say that all of your life's questions will be answered as soon as you connect to your heart. Um, because we are so conditioned to be connected to our minds only, and it makes us have a lot of questions. But if we get out of there and we just drop into our heart, everything will make sense and everything will thrive. Your business, your relationships, your the way you feel about yourself, your health, everything. If you can just, and I guess it sounds a little bit, I don't know, woo woo, like a connect to your heart. But I guess that's what came to my mind. It seems like the most important thing, that the most important message that I can spread, because um, it's always a bad day if I'm disconnected from my heart. Or maybe not bad, but maybe it's confusing or it's turbulent or it's, um, I'm in resistance in some way, a resistance to life if I'm not connected to my heart. So yeah, I think if you can do that, then uh, everything's going to be okay regardless. Like, that's another message I want to kind of give, because I feel like in this self-development bubble, we think we constantly have to do something and like get a new tip on how to improve and change, and like what do I do and what do I do. And I think that a nice message is just like, everything is perfect, you're in perfect order. However you're feeling is perfect, and wherever you are is perfect, and it's where you're supposed to be and how it's supposed to be happening. So there's that too. Like, everything is okay.
I love it. I love to affirm everything is working out for us. Always.
Yes.
I love that. No, I appreciate you. I know I just switched your mind back from, I noticed that when normally I asked that question and we already went off like on a whole different direction, like talking about, dating apps and whatnot. So I appreciate you tapping back in. When I asked that, I was like, ooh, I'm just asking her to switch back to like, but you flowed out perfectly just now. So.
Oh, thank you. Caught me off guard.
I know. I never really asked that. This conversation went into interesting places, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. Me too. It was fun.
Yeah. Well, you're awesome. You guys definitely follow Sarinia. She's awesome. And Sarinia. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Definitely connect with her, and I'm just sending so much love and light to all of you guys out there, and appreciate you guys for tuning in to another episode of Enlightened Conversation. Definitely share this. This will be very impactful for anyone that you do, and subscribe if you're not already, and rate and review. Make it easy for people to find all these episodes. Thank you for you guys that already have, and I'll keep talking with awesome humans like Sarinia, and just spreading love and light to all of you guys, whether it's now or 100 years from now. You guys are awesome, and I'm rooting for all of you. We'll talk with you guys soon. Awesome. That was fun. You're awesome human.
How are you?